Section 1. Earth's sky was painted an eerie hue of crimson, a brilliant contrast to the usual serene blue, as the atmosphere crackled with unearthly energy. The invasion fleet hovered just beyond the stratosphere, massive ships dwarfing even the largest terrestrial mountains. Their hulls gleamed, pulsating with alien light, casting eerie shadows over the surface of the planet. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Elena Marquez stood atop the command deck of the Eisenhower, a human defense platform stationed in orbit. Her dark hair was tied back, her posture rigid as her piercing eyes scanned the holographic display before her. The alien ships, monolithic in their design, shimmered with advanced technology that far surpassed humanity's crude defenses. They positioned themselves across all major gravitational nodes, Lieutenant Daniel Price reported, his voice a mix of awe and apprehension. They're preparing for a planetary-scale deployment. Elena clenched her fists, her jaw tight. Typical invaders. They underestimate us. They see Earth as just another resource, another conquest. She leaned forward, her voice sharpening. But they've forgotten to account for the one thing that's always been our ally, gravity. The Eisenhower's sensors buzzed as an unrelenting energy field emanated from the alien mothership. The invaders were attempting to terraform Earth's natural environment, adjusting atmospheric density and magnetic fields. Their end goal: to make Earth hospitable for their species and uninhabitable for humans. On the surface, humanity's cities buzzed with panic. Newscasters relayed dire warnings, and evacuation orders were issued for metropolitan hubs. The alien armada's shadow loomed, its presence suffocating. Despite the chaos, humanity had not yet surrendered. Thousands of miles below, in a quiet laboratory nestled in the Rockies, Dr. Isaac Kwan paced around a central control hub surrounded by advanced instruments. His research team, a mix of Earth's brightest physicists and engineers, worked frantically. Isaac's wiry frame belied his unyielding determination. "We have to exploit the gravitational anomalies their fleet creates," Isaac declared, slamming a fist against the console. "Those ships are massive, they're generating their own localized gravity wells. If we can sync Earth's natural gravitational forces with those wells, we might just throw them off balance." "That's theoretical at best," countered Dr. Mira Patel, a mathematician with decades of experience in astrophysics. "Even if we pull it off, the feedback could tear our planet apart." Isaac turned, his eyes blazing. "Would you rather let them do it for us? They're already destabilizing the crust with their terraforming efforts. We either take a calculated risk or let them rewrite our world." Mira hesitated, but the logic was sound. The invaders had grossly underestimated the unique properties of Earth's gravity. Isaac's plan, while audacious, had a sliver of hope, a chance for humanity to turn the tables. Meanwhile, aboard the alien mothership, Commander Zalcora observed Earth with detached curiosity. His crystalline exoskeleton shimmered under the dim, bioluminescent lights of the command chamber. Surrounding him were holographic displays showing Earth's lush landscapes and vibrant ecosystems. "This planet will be the crown jewel of the Nexarian Empire," Zalcora said, his voice echoing with authority. "Its natural resources will fuel our expansion for centuries." A subordinate, smaller and hunched, approached cautiously. "Commander, the humans are adapting. Our drones have observed unusual energy fluctuations in their defense grids." Zalcora dismissed the concern with a wave of his segmented arm. "Primitive creatures grasping at straws. Their resistance will collapse as their environment succumbs to our terraforming process." But Zalcora's confidence would soon be tested. Back on the Eisenhower, Elena received an urgent communication from Isaac's lab. The video feed flickered as Isaac's face appeared, his expression grave but determined. "Commander, we have a plan," Isaac began. "It's risky, but if we can synchronize Earth's gravity wells with their fleet's artificial fields, we might destabilize their ships." Elena frowned. "And the downside?" Isaac hesitated. "Localized seismic events. Tsunamis. Potentially catastrophic consequences. But it's better than annihilation." Elena exhaled deeply. The decision weighed heavily, but time was running out. "Do it. Coordinate with our orbital platforms," I'll handle the fleet. Turning to her crew, Elena issued a string of commands. The room buzzed with activity as technicians and officers scrambled to recalibrate the Eisenhower's systems to amplify Isaac's gravitational strategy. Commander, Lieutenant Price said. If this fails... Elena cut him off. It won't. We'll make it work. We always do. As the alien fleet began deploying their ground units, Earth's defenses sprang into action. Fighter jets streaked through the skies, their weapons blazing. Anti-aircraft missiles launched from hidden silos, finding their marks among the smaller alien vessels. But against the mothership and its advanced shielding, these efforts were mere distractions. From the Rockies, Isaac's team initiated the gravitational synchronization sequence. Massive generators hummed to life, sending waves of energy through the Earth's core. Across the planet, seismographs registered spikes as tectonic plates shifted slightly, their movements aligning with the artificial gravity wells of the alien ships. Elena! Isaac's voice crackled through the comms. It's starting! Hold them off just a little longer! On the Eisenhower, Elena tightened her grip on the railing as the ship's cannons fired in rapid succession, targeting incoming alien fighters. The void of space lit up with explosions, but for every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Kale, focus all fire on that transport ship! Elena shouted. We can't let them land reinforcements. The battle raged on, Earth's defenders buying precious time with every second. But the cost was high. Casualties mounted, and the strain on the planetary defense network grew unbearable. Amid the chaos, the ground beneath the alien fleet began to shift. Zalcora's command ship vibrated unnaturally as gravitational forces clashed. Commander, a Nexarian officer reported, his voice tinged with unease. Our stabilizers are failing. The planet's gravity wells are. Zalcora's segmented eyes narrowed. Impossible. No primitive species could. Before he could finish, the ship lurched violently. Alarms blared as their advanced stabilizers began to crumble under the onslaught of Earth's natural forces. In that moment, the tide of the battle began to turn. Humanity's resilience, bolstered by the very planet they called home, was proving to be more than even the most advanced species could anticipate. Section 2. The synchronized gravitational interference reverberated through Earth's crust, a subtle yet powerful reminder of the planet's raw, untapped potential. In the alien mothership, Commander Zalcora gripped the edge of his command dais as the ship jolted again, alarms echoing through the chamber. Stabilizers are overloading, Commander, his chief engineer reported, his translucent appendages flitting nervously over the control panel. Their planetary gravity has shifted. It's counteracting our terraforming fields. Zalcora slammed a segmented fist onto the dais, his crystalline voice rising above the din. Redirect power to the stabilizers and intensify the terraforming process. I will not allow this backwater species to undermine the Nexarian Empire. Back on Earth, Commander Elena Donovan stood at the Eisenhower-S command console, her sharp gaze fixed on the tactical display. The battle in orbit had intensified. The alien ships, though momentarily disrupted, were regaining control, their advanced systems adapting to Earth's unconventional defense. Elena! Dr. Isaac Kwan's voice crackled over the comms. The gravitational pulses are working, but we're seeing anomalies in the planet's crust. Localized quakes are increasing in intensity. Casualties? Elena asked, her voice tight. Minimal so far, but it's a gamble every second we continue. Isaac replied. We need more time to amplify the effect. Elena nodded grimly. You'll get your time. Just make sure it counts. In the sprawling plains of Central Asia, one of the alien landing crafts had successfully deployed. Nexarian ground forces, towering insectoid beings encased in shimmering exoskeletons, moved with precision across the terrain. Their goal was clear: establish a foothold and disable the human defense systems controlling the gravitational interference. Major Ari Mendoza led a detachment of Earth's Special Defense Forces, camouflaged among the rocky outcroppings. The Nexarians approached, their advanced scanning equipment sweeping the area for threats. Mendoza held up a clenched fist, signaling his team to hold position. They've got shields, Mendoza whispered into his comms. Conventional weapons won't penetrate. Then we don't go conventional, replied Corporal Jenkins, hefting a prototype electromagnetic launcher. The weapon hummed to life, its coils glowing faintly. Fire on my mark, Mendoza ordered. As the lead Nixarian unit passed below their position, he gave the signal. A brilliant arc of energy burst from Jenkins' weapon, slamming into the alien shield. Sparks erupted as the shield flickered and failed, and the team unleashed a coordinated barrage of explosives. The Nixarian forces retaliated swiftly. Their energy weapons carved through the rocks, forcing Mendoza's team to scatter. Despite their technological disadvantage, the humans held their ground, using the terrain and their ingenuity to outmaneuver the aliens. We need air support, Mendoza barked into his comms. They're overwhelming us. Above, the Eisenhower intercepted the distress call. Elena turned to Lieutenant Cale. Deploy drones to Mendoza's location. We can't afford to lose that sector. The ship's automated drones streaked toward the battlefield, their sleek forms unleashing precise strikes that temporarily halted the Nixarian advance. Mendoza's team regrouped, pressing their advantage. On the alien mothership, Zalcora's frustration grew. The Nixarians prided themselves on their technological superiority, yet this primitive planet and its inhabitants were proving more formidable than anticipated. He reviewed the latest scans of Earth's surface, noting the shifting gravitational patterns. These humans are leveraging their planet's instability, Zalcora muttered. A crude tactic but effective. He turned to his tactical officer. Prepare the singularity projector. If their gravity is their weapon, we will turn it against them. The officer hesitated. Commander, using the projector so close to a planetary body could destabilize. I am aware of the risks, Zalcora snapped. But we must neutralize their interference, no matter the cost. In the Rockies, Dr. Isaac Kwan's team monitored the gravitational pulses with mounting concern. The generators hummed loudly, their output nearing critical levels. We're running out of time, Mira Patel warned. The tectonic stress is building. If we push further, we risk triggering a chain reaction. Isaac wiped sweat from his brow, his mind racing. We need to localize the pulses, target the largest ships directly. If we can collapse their artificial gravity wells, we might force them to retreat. That's a long shot, Mira replied. And it could still destabilize the planet. Isaac turned to her, his expression resolute. If we don't try, Earth is lost. Mira nodded reluctantly and began recalibrating the system. Isaac opened a channel to the Eisenhower. Elena, we're making adjustments to target the mothership. But we'll need your help to coordinate the pulse. Elena's voice was steady. We're ready. Send us the parameters. As the adjustments were made, the Eisenhower moved into position, dodging plasma fire from the pursuing Nixarian ships. The holographic display showed the mothership's trajectory, its artificial gravity field marked in red. Elena, the pulse will overload their systems, Isaac explained. But their countermeasures will likely create massive gravitational surges. You'll have to navigate through it. Elena's grip on the console tightened. Understood. We've survived worse. The pulse generators activated, sending a focused wave of energy toward the Nixarian mothership. The effect was immediate. The ship lurched, its stabilizers failing as the artificial gravity wells collapsed. The gravitational surge rippled outward, pulling smaller Nixarian ships into chaotic orbits. On the ground, the tremors intensified. Buildings swayed, and rivers shifted course as Earth's crust absorbed the energy. Mendoza's team fought to maintain their position as the Nixarians faltered, their forces thrown into disarray. Captain? Cale called out from the Eisenhower's helm. The mothership is destabilizing, but the gravitational surge is pulling us in. Divert all power to the engines, Elena ordered. We're not going down with them. The ship groaned as it strained against the pull, its engines roaring at maximum output. On the surface, Isaac and his team watched the readings anxiously. It's working, Mira said, her voice tinged with disbelief. The Nixarian fleet is collapsing. Isaac allowed himself a brief smile. But we're not out of this yet. As the Nexarian mothership began to break apart, Zalcora issued one final command. All remaining forces, retreat. We'll regroup and return stronger. The Nexarian ships disengaged, their surviving vessels vanishing into hyperspace. On Earth, the tremors subsided, leaving a battered but defiant planet in their wake. Elena slumped into her chair, exhaustion washing over her. Status? Kale smiled faintly. They're gone, Captain. For now. On the ground, Mendoza's team cheered as the Nexarian forces withdrew. In the Rockies, Isaac shut down the generators, the hum fading into silence. Earth had survived another day. But the fight was far from over. Section 3. The wreckage of Nexarian ships drifted in orbit, twisted metal and alien debris tumbling silently through the void. On Earth, the gravitational interference had left its mark. Coastal cities faced minor tsunamis, tectonic plates rumbled with aftershocks, and humanity's defenses were stretched to their limits. Yet amidst the devastation, there was a growing sense of defiance. Earth had fought back, and survived. Commander Elena Donovan stood on the bridge of the Eisenhower, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. The Nexarian fleet, though weakened, was regrouping on the far side of the moon. Her comms officer, Lieutenant Kale, spoke up, his tone grim. Commander, the Nexarians are consolidating their forces. It looks like they're preparing for a second wave. Elena clenched her fists, her mind racing. They're not done with us yet. What's the status of our defenses? Orbital platforms are at 40% capacity. Surface anti-air systems are operational but scattered. And the gravitational generators. Kale hesitated. Spit it out, Lieutenant. Kale sighed. Dr. Kwan reports that the generators can't handle another pulse without extensive repairs. We've bought ourselves time, but we're running out of options. Elena exhaled sharply, her frustration barely contained. Patch me through to Kwan. A moment later, Dr. Isaac Kwan's voice crackled through the comms. Commander, I'm working as fast as I can, but the generators are barely holding together. If we push them again, we could cause irreparable damage to the planet. Then we need another plan, Elena replied. Can you give me anything? There was a pause before Isaac spoke again, his tone hesitant. The Nexarian ships rely heavily on artificial gravity fields. If we can destabilize their central nexus, likely located on their mothership, we could collapse their entire fleet's infrastructure. And how do we get to the nexus? Elena asked. Their mothership is a fortress. I'm working on it, Isaac said. But it won't be easy. In the Nexarian mothership's command chamber, Commander Zalcora stood amidst a flurry of activity. Technicians and tactical officers scrambled to repair the ship's systems, their crystalline forms shimmering under the dim light. Our stabilizers are operational, but barely, reported his chief engineer. The humans' interference has caused significant damage to our fleet's coordination systems. Zalcora's segmented eyes narrowed. Their tactics are crude yet effective. They weaponize their environment with reckless abandon. It's inefficient, but undeniably destructive. The tactical officer approached cautiously. Commander, our scans indicate that the humans' gravitational weapons are offline. This may be our best chance to strike. Zalcora considered the report, his mind calculating. Prepare the fleet. We'll launch a coordinated assault on their remaining defenses. But first, deploy the singularity projector. The room fell silent. The singularity projector was a weapon of last resort, capable of creating a localized gravitational collapse. Its use was forbidden by the Nexarian High Council due to its unpredictable and catastrophic effects. Commander, the engineer began. The projector. I am aware of the risks, Zalcora interrupted. But we must eliminate their ability to resist. Deploy it. On the surface of Earth, Dr. Mira Patel studied the seismic activity monitors, her brow furrowed. Something's not right, she muttered. Isaac looked up from his console. What is it? Mira pointed to the data. The Nexarians are creating a massive gravitational anomaly. If they deploy this weapon, it could destabilize the entire planet. Isaac's stomach churned. We need to stop them. But how? Before Mira could answer, an urgent transmission came through. Elena's voice was sharp and urgent. Quan, we've picked up chatter about a singularity projector. What do you know about it? Isaac's face paled. It's a gravitational weapon. If they deploy it, it could create a black hole. Earth wouldn't stand a chance. Elena's voice hardened. Then we need to take it out. Now. The Eisenhower moved into position, its engines blazing as it approached the Nexarian fleet. Fighter drones launched from its bays, streaking toward the enemy ships. The void of space erupted in chaos as human and alien forces clashed, plasma bolts and missiles lighting up the darkness. Inside the Eisenhower, Elena coordinated the assault, her voice steady despite the tension. Focus fire on the mothership. We need to get close enough to deploy a strike team. Kale's claws danced over the controls. Their defenses are thick, Commander. We'll need a miracle to get through. Then let's make one, Elena replied. As the Eisenhower closed in, Mendoza's strike team prepared for their mission. Clad in advanced combat suits, they carried electromagnetic charges designed to disrupt the Nexarian systems. Mendoza's voice was calm but firm as he addressed his team. Our job is simple. We get in, plant the charges, and get out. No heroics. Stick to the plan, and we'll make it back. The team nodded, their resolve unshaken. They boarded a stealth shuttle, its cloaking systems engaged as it launched toward the mothership. Inside the Nexarian command chamber, Zalcora watched the battle unfold. His confidence faltered as the humans pressed their assault, their resilience unlike anything he had encountered. Commander, we've detected a cloaked vessel approaching, the tactical officer reported. Zalcora's eyes narrowed. Deploy sentinels. They won't reach us. Mendoza's shuttle weaved through enemy fire, its cloaking barely holding. As they approached the mothership, automated defense drones activated, firing relentlessly. The shuttle shook violently as Mendoza barked orders. Hold steady! We're almost there! The shuttle docked with the mothership's hull, the team quickly disembarking. They moved through the alien corridors, their electromagnetic charges glowing faintly. Mendoza's heart pounded as they approached the central nexus. Plant the charges, he ordered. We don't have much time. As the team worked, alarms blared. Nexarian sentinels converged on their location, their energy weapons firing in bursts. Mendoza and his team fought back, their advanced suits and weapons giving them a fighting chance. On the Eisenhower, Elena watched the tactical display anxiously. Mendoza status? We're pinned down, Mendoza replied. Charges are almost set, but we need an extraction. Elena turned to Kale. Get us closer. We're pulling them out. The Eisenhower pushed through the Nexarian fleet, its cannons blazing. The ship shook as it took heavy fire, but Elena's focus never wavered. Mendoza, get ready. We'll be there in 2 minutes. Inside the mothership, Mendoza's team set the final charge. The ground trembled as the singularity projector began to activate, its gravitational field distorting the surrounding space. Charges are set, Mendoza shouted. Let's move! The team sprinted toward the extraction point as the charges detonated. The mothership shuddered violently, its systems failing as the gravitational nexus collapsed. The Eisenhower swooped in, its shuttle bay open to receive the strike team. As Mendoza's shuttle docked, the Eisenhower turned and burned for open space. Behind them, the Nexarian mothership erupted in a brilliant explosion, its fragments consumed by the collapsing gravitational field. Elena slumped into her chair, a weary smile on her face. We did it! Kale grinned. For now. Earth had survived another day, but the battle was far from over. Section 4. The detonation of the Nexarian mothership sent ripples across the battlefield. In space, the once mighty fleet of alien ships faltered, their tightly coordinated maneuvers disrupted by the loss of their central command. Fire and debris filled the void, and the luminous remnants of the singularity projector flickered out like dying stars. Humanity had dealt a critical blow, but the war was not yet won. On the Eisenhower, Commander Elena Donovan stood on the bridge, her sharp gaze fixed on the retreating Nexarian vessels. "Status report," she demanded, her voice cutting through the controlled chaos around her. Lieutenant Kale's claws danced over the console. "The Nexarians are in disarray, Commander. We've disrupted their fleet's formation, but several ships are regrouping on the far side of the planet." Elena's jaw tightened. "They're not retreating, they're stalling. We need to finish this before they can counterattack." Dr. Isaac Kwan's voice crackled over the comms from his lab in the Rockies. "Elena, I've been analyzing the gravitational readings from the mothership's destruction. There's residual interference in the planet's upper atmosphere. If we can amplify it, we might force the entire fleet to disengage, or better yet, trap them." "Trap them?" Elena's brow furrowed. "What are you suggesting?" Isaac's tone was resolute. "By manipulating the residual gravity waves, we can create a localized gravitational field strong enough to disable their engines. It's risky, but it could buy us the time we need to end this." Elena exhaled sharply. "And what happens to Earth if this field spirals out of control?" Isaac hesitated. "There's a margin for error, but it's a calculated risk." Elena turned to her crew. "Prepare the Eisenhower to assist. We'll draw their attention and keep them occupied while Isaac and his team activate the field." On the surface, Isaac and Dr. Mira Patel worked tirelessly to recalibrate the gravitational generators. The hum of the machines filled the underground lab as seismic monitors displayed fluctuating readings. "This is insane," Mira muttered, her fingers flying over the controls. "We're weaponizing the planet's gravity to take out an alien fleet. Do you realize how close we are to tearing Earth apart?" Isaac glanced at her, his expression unyielding. "It's either that, or let them regroup and finish us off." "I'll take the risk." The generators roared to life, sending waves of energy rippling through Earth's core. Across the planet, seismic activity intensified, but the team worked with precision, carefully balancing the energy output to avoid catastrophic consequences. In orbit, the Eisenhower engaged the remaining Nexarian ships. Plasma bolts and energy missiles lit up the void as human fighters darted through the chaos, their maneuvers precise and desperate. Elena coordinated the assault, her voice steady despite the tension. "Target their engines," she commanded. "We don't need to destroy them, just keep them contained." The ship rocked as a Nexarian cruiser fired a direct hit, its shields flickering. Kale called out, "Shields at 50%. We can't take much more of this." Elena gripped the console. "Hold the line. Isaac needs time." On the Nexarian command vessel, chaos reigned. Commander Zalcora barked orders, his segmented eyes scanning the displays. The human's relentless resistance was unlike anything he had anticipated. "Our fleet is compromised, Commander," his tactical officer reported. "We've lost over 60% of our forces. The remaining ships are vulnerable to their gravitational interference." Zalcora's crystalline voice resonated with frustration. "Prepare for one final assault. If we cannot conquer this planet, we will ensure its destruction." The Nexarian fleet began to consolidate, their remaining ships aligning for a concentrated strike. In the Rockies, Isaac's team worked with relentless determination. The gravitational generators reached their peak output, their hum intensifying as the energy built to a crescendo. "Elena," Isaac called over the comms, "we're ready to activate the field. But you'll need to pull the fleet into position for it to work." Elena's voice was firm. "Understood. Kale, relay the coordinates to all ships. We're drawing them in." The Eisenhower led the charge, its engines blazing as it maneuvered through enemy fire. Human fighters rallied behind it, their coordinated attack forcing the Nexarians to follow. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble under the intensity of the battle. As the Nexarians pursued, the gravitational field began to take shape. Invisible to the eye, it exerted a powerful force that disrupted the Nexarian ships' systems. One by one, their engines faltered, and the fleet was caught in a web of Earth's gravity. On the Eisenhower, Kale's voice was triumphant. "It's working! Their ships are immobilized!" Elena allowed herself a small smile. Good. Now let's finish this. The remaining human forces launched a final assault, targeting the Nexarian ships with precision. Explosions rippled through the fleet as the invaders were forced to retreat. The Nexarian command vessel, its stabilizers failing, began to drift uncontrollably toward Earth's atmosphere. Inside the ship, Zalcora faced his defeat with cold acceptance. We underestimated them, he muttered. Primitive yet resilient. Perhaps too resilient. As the ship began to burn in re-entry, Zalcora issued his final command. Retreat. The humans have earned their place among the stars. The battle ended as abruptly as it had begun. The Nexarian ships that remained operational vanished into hyperspace, leaving Earth's defenders victorious but battered. On the Eisenhower, cheers erupted as the crew realized they had won. Elena slumped into her chair, exhaustion overtaking her. Status? She asked. Kale grinned. We did it, Commander. The fleet is gone. On the surface, Isaac and Mira shut down the generators, their relief palpable. The tremors subsided, and the lab fell silent except for the hum of cooling systems. We did it, Isaac said softly. Earth is safe. For now, Mira replied, her voice tinged with caution. But they'll be back. Isaac nodded. And when they do, we'll be ready. In the days that followed, humanity began to rebuild. The battle had left scars, but it had also united the planet in a way few events ever had. Nations that once stood divided now worked together, pooling their resources and knowledge to prepare for the challenges ahead. Elena stood on the observation deck of the Eisenhower, gazing at the planet below. Despite the devastation, Earth remained beautiful, a testament to humanity's resilience. We've proven we can survive, she said quietly. Now let's show them we can thrive. As the stars shimmered in the distance, humanity's journey into the cosmos was just beginning.